Hi everybody, this is Christine. Welcome to Scrap and Rabbit. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you what I call my jewelry for potted plants. As if plants aren't pretty enough, but these add a touch of color and interest in green foliage. You can see a few pics of these embellishments in my plants. And here's a bunch that I assembled in a vase. I made these using paper, lace, beads, and chain that I had in my stash, and these are attached to a wooden skewer. I also made some with beads just attached to a metal wire. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the larger ones with the wooden skewers. Here are the smaller ones with the beads and the wire. So let's get started. I'm going to show you these individually first, and then I'll show you step by step how to make them. So here are all of my embellishments. I'll do a quick run through on each one because I'm going to put these in my Etsy shop and I'm going to include this video, but I'm also going to show you how to make these. So here's the first one. I've got a double flower and a petal, lace for the petals on the back. And I've got the chain, and these are the beads. There's a little heart charm. And most of these beads were from some vintage jewelry that I had. Here's another similar one, only I used different beads on this one. This one has a little cherub. This one is a little bit smaller, and I've got a little windmill charm on here and some more beads. This was from a pendant. And I colored the stick brown on this one. I just used watercolor to stain the sticks. And when you're putting these in your pot, if you're not using metal, if you're using wooden sticks, you can just wrap a little piece of plastic wrap around the bottom end that's going to go in the ground to protect the stick. So this one is a little bit smaller. I've got a button center, and these are the beads and the charm. Another similar one. They're a lot of fun to make, and it's a good way to use up some supplies and beads from your stash. These were some newer beads, and here's a little cross. Another one with green lace, a little cactus on the end. And this one I made with a double layer of lace, and this is just one thickness of lace folded in two to form the double layers. And this one has what I think is a 4-leaf clover on it. Actually, no, it's not a 4-leaf clover. It's got 5 leaves on here. And another little cross. The sticks are between 9 to 10 inches, but you can trim these if you're putting them in a pot that's smaller, and you don't need all that length. And here's another one. I love this charm. A little butterfly or moth, not sure what that is. And another little cross. And then this one doesn't have any beads attached. I just have a button center. This is a flower that I had made. I've got some little petals here that I cut, and I put this green lace on the back. And for this one, I just attached a piece of metal wire, and I can stick that in my pot. And then these are the tinier ones, and all of these are beads threaded through a wire. I have a little dangle charm up here, and these are great for little cactus plants or smaller pots. So I think I'm going to make one like this one. So I'll gather up my supplies and I'll be right back. These are the supplies I'm going to be using. I've got my skewer, my wooden skewer, and I'm going to use watercolor to tint this. And then I have the paper for my rosette. I have a tutorial on how to make these rosettes and I'll link to it in the description below. And these are all pre-scored at 1/4 inch. I think my piece measured 12 inches. And I've got the lace, and it's a fairly wide piece because I want to make it doubled. So I'm just going to fold this up like that and stitch it, and that will give me my 2 layers. And I've got my needle, and I'm using embroidery thread because it's nice and strong for attaching the lace. And then I've got a little button center. I've got a chain that's going to go into my flower, and I've got some little hoops to attach the beads. I haven't sorted through my beads yet to decide what I'm going to use, so I'll do that a bit later. And I've got some cardstock. So I'm warming up my glue gun in the meantime. I'm going to start by tinting my wooden skewer. So I'm just going to move this aside so I don't get it dirty. And I'm just using my watercolor palette. You can probably also just use a marker if you wanted to try that. But I'm going to use this, and I've got one of these watercolor pens, and I really like the teal, so I'm going to do teal. And if you find the color is too light, you can just let it dry and go over it again. I'm going to put my stick aside to dry, and in the meantime I'm going to work on my flower. So this piece measured 12 inches and I scored at 1/4 inch. This first section folds down, and I find that it's easier if I trim off the last 1/4 inch so that the last section folds up, and that way I can just assemble it like that. It gives a more consistent look than if I had the ends glued together like that. So my glue gun is warmed up. I'm going to attach these 2 pieces together. So I'll put a little bit of glue on the end piece here. And then that just fits over top like that. Make sure it's straight. And I just let it cool a little bit. So I'm going to take a piece of cardstock that I'm going to attach the rosette to, and you could just cut a square piece if you like. I like using my circle punch. And that's going to attach over it like that. Now before I attach it, I want to have a little hole in here where my chain's going to fit through. So you can use any implement to punch a hole. I'll just use my crocodile. I can center this on here. I'm using the small hole of my crocodile. It's not very centered. Maybe I'll make another one.
Okay. So when I shape my flower, I want to leave this little hole so that I can feed my chain through. So I'm going to squish this down like that, and I'm going to glue it right in the middle like that with the opening over the hole. Put some glue on here. Watch you don't burn yourself. And I'll just push down, and I let that cool. See, so you can see the little hole in there through the center. Now I'm going to attach my chain. I have a loop here that's wider than my hole, so what I can do is simply put this through like that, and it won't go anywhere. Or what I did with my other flowers, I just happened to notice that I had this little hoop stuck on there. What I did with my other flowers is I just pulled the chain out a little bit like that, and I glued it in place, and then I glued another circle on the back to make sure that everything was held solid. So actually I can go ahead and do that. Can let that cool. I can punch another circle. This circle won't be visible, so I'll use this one. Now I'm going to position my chain so that it fits inside one of the grooves in my flower, like that. And actually I think I'll put it down in this one, like that. That will allow me to put my button in, and it'll be flush with the top. Again, you can just cut a little square of cardstock if you prefer, and this is just to hold the chain in place, make sure nothing comes undone. And I'm going to let that cool. Now before I start adding my charms to this, and before I even attach it to the stick, I'm going to get my layer of lace, and I think I'm going to go ahead and just fold this up like that. And I didn't fold it exactly in two because I want this outer edge to show, so I'm just going to fold it. I'm leaving about 1/2 inch at the top, and then I'm going to use my needle and thread. There, it's easier if I do it this way. And I'm just going to do a running stitch along the fold line. I started stitching down through the top, so I'm going to finish by stitching up through the top. Then I'm just gonna shape the petals like that, and I'm going to tie it. It doesn't have to be too tight. You can leave a little opening in the center. It's going to be covered by the paper flower anyways. And also that'll allow me to arrange the pleats if I want to. And then I can take the end, you can leave it like that if you like, but I prefer to just put a little bit of glue. I'm attaching the ends together like that. So I'll just put a little bit of glue, and I'm not going to glue the top layer, just the bottom layer. Just a couple of dots. Let that cool, and I can trim off the excess lace here, make it look a bit more finished. There we go. So this makes a pretty little flower just the way it is. So I need to attach this to my skewer because I'm going to attach the skewer between the paper and the flower so it doesn't show. Now you can also attach it on the back if you prefer. It's just a personal preference. So I'm going to grab my skewer, make sure it's dry so you don't get your paper and your lace dirty, and I'm going to cut a square or a little rectangle like that. And I'm going to attach my skewer. Make sure that your chain is in the position that you want. Just stick it in here like that. And you want to line up your skewer with your chain so that it's hanging straight. And I am going to put the pointy end behind the flower. Like that. So put a bit of glue down here, and I'm going to position that on there and let that cool. And then I'm going to put some glue on my square or my rectangle. I think I'll just put it on here. Make sure it's close to the edge of the stick. Again, make sure you don't burn yourself. It's very hot. And I push down. And I'm going to let that cool. Now, once it's cooled, I can attach this to my flower. And now my button can be attached. If the shank is too big, you can just cut this off and then glue it on the rosette, but it fits inside my hole. Like that. So now I'm going to decide which little charms I want to attach to my embellishment. These are the beads and the charms that I'm going to use, and you can adjust the height of your chain if you like, but I think this is going to be good. This is the bead that I'm going to put at the bottom, so I think I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to put this in a fairly large pot so my chain can be long. Had an extra hoop that I don't need. So I'm going to start by attaching the bottom charm. Then I can judge where I want to place my other charms, and I think I'm going to put this one like that, and then gradually work my way up. This is a little charm with a little cat on it, and I'm going to put that one here and finish off with this one. Or yeah, I'll put this here. Like that. I'm going to use these jump hoops. I'll start with this one. And that can go here. And then this one, just a little bit higher. I hope this is staying in frame. than this one. I could add some more charms, but I don't want to make it too heavy. And if you make a bunch of these and put them in a vase, like in the picture at the beginning of this video tutorial, you can put some sand or decorative sand in the bottom of the vase so that you can stick these in. Otherwise, the weight of the charms can make the sticks turn around like that if you want them in a certain position, and you can just stick these in the vase with the sand in it and they'll stay in place. So there we go. There is my plant embellishment. So I'm going to go and find my planter and I'm going to stick this in there, and I'll include a picture at the end of the video. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that it inspired you to make your own little decorative embellishments for your potted plants. Have a nice day and happy scrapping. Bye.